What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. This video is Bonnie is a truly terrible character, the Walking Dead game by JoshuaTXI. This video was suggested by Jacoby, so thank you, man. If you guys have any suggestions, please put them in the comment section below or on my posts on my channel. And yeah, let's get into it.
Bonnie is often considered one of the most hated characters in The Walking Dead. From hypocrisy to betrayal, her story is far more complicated than it first appears. In this video, I'll break down why Bonnie earns so much hate, why I personally struggle to like her, and whether she was truly...
Can I be honest? I think she's one of my least favorite characters, just because every decision she makes isn't about the consideration of others. It's more the consideration of oneself. So I tend to veer away from Bonnie.
Irredeemable, or just a flawed survivor.
That's why I like Clementine more, because Clementine actually risks
mistakes.
her life to help people. Bonnie, no.
From her very first appearance in the 400 Days DLC, Bonnie's life is framed by failure and moral compromise. She introduces herself as a recovering addict, but we quickly learn she's also entangled in an affair with the married Leland. Her fractured state of mind spirals into what could only be called her original sin, accidentally killing Dee, Leland's wife, in a moment of fear. What's interesting is that Bonnie can lie about what happened. While it's left as a player choice, it foreshadows her later tendency to dodge accountability for her own mistakes. In fact, I highly doubt,
like I said, she's a very selfish character.
She would have taken responsibility if the game hadn't forced the option. This doesn't just paint Bonnie as another screw-up, but as a uniquely self-destructive one. Unlike most characters who make mistakes out of desperation or survival, Bonnie can't control her emotions. She craves validation, needing others to reassure her and stand by her. This could trace back to losing her mother during the hardest years of her life, though the game never makes it clear. By the end of 400 Days, Bonnie always chooses to leave with Tavia in search of a safe haven, immediately convincing herself it must be the right decision.
This is a good thing. I know it is.
No matter what doubts linger. It's no surprise that Bonnie's flaws only grow worse in Season 2 once she
Bonnie sucks, man.
joins Carver's camp. She's too trusting, desperate to believe those around her are good.
Who are your favorite characters in the Walking Dead series from Season 1 to Season 4? And who are your least favorite from Season 1 to Season 4?
Because more than anything, she can't stand seeing herself as bad. In doing so, she turns a blind eye to Carver's brutality, and even drifts into a relationship with Luke. True to form, she becomes obsessed with him. Yet when push comes to shove, she abandons Luke and everyone else for her own safety, siding with Carver instead of the man she claimed to care about. That's why she never escaped with the cabin group. When Carver finally tracks down the missing survivors, Bonnie is reintroduced on screen, not as a friend, but as a traitor. Despite the cabin group's generosity in sharing supplies, she justifies her betrayal as necessary, convincing herself that Carver, despite everything, is still a good man. And this is the core of Bonnie's character. She's emotionally incontinent, yet never truly does right by her people. She's a coward, but worse than that, a coward who refuses to admit it. Rather than owning up to her betrayal, she hides behind shallow gestures, like giving Clementine vanity items as an apology, all while ignoring that her actions helped get Walter killed, Elvin killed regardless, and dragged Rebecca back to her abuser. If you reject her apology, she defaults to self-pity, playing coy, playing the victim, and pretending she knows far less.
This is exactly why I don't like characters like that.
Less than she truly does.
Or people like that in general, bro. Like, own up to your freaking mistakes, because then if you don't, you'll never improve.
He even refuses to accept that Carver would kill Reggie, despite already seeing what he did at the ski lodge. As a guard in what is essentially a...
Like, when Clementine... Like, you can choose to not cut off Sarita's hand, or where the walker was biting Sarita. You can choose to cut it off or not cut it off. Either way, Kenny gets mad at you, right? Clementine realizes her fault in both situations, and she's like, Kenny's mad at me. and I'm gonna just, stay away because I know that I did wrong. Even Lee at some points, or when he does wrong, he admits that he does wrong. But it's like characters like that, no.
Forced labour camp. Bonnie is no different from Troy, except she hides behind a facade of compassion. She pretends to care, yet does nothing to change her role, echoing the same hollow excuse of just following orders. Of course, all of this stems from Bonnie's inability to ever admit she was wrong. When she chose to side with Tavia, she needed that decision to be the right one. As we later see, Bonnie would rather watch others suffer than confront her own mistakes. At worst, her cowardice makes her complicit in everything that follows. At best, it exposes just how little backbone she truly has. To make matters worse, nearly every time you interact with Bonnie, she's asking you to do something for her. Out of all the Season 2 characters who think depending on a 12-year-old is good enough, Bonnie stands out as the worst offender. When Carver nearly beats Kenny to death, it's the...
But like I said, in Season 2, almost everybody was like that, apart from not even a handful of people, like a couple of people weren't like that.
First time Bonnie actually steps in and tells him to stop. Likely the first real sign she's even considering leaving the camp. Even if I really try to frame this as a positive, it's impossible. Everyone else at Carver's camp either already recognized how awful it was, like Reggie, or reveled in the chance to be cruel, like Troy. Bonnie is the only one who never seemed to grasp this, and it took something completely unhinged to finally force her to. This leads directly into the second arc of her story. Once that illusion of safety is gone with the fall of Carver's camp, Bonnie falls back on her old flaws, clinging to emotions and shallow connections. It shows that not only has she failed to grow since her 400 days introduction, she may have actually gotten worse.
Yeah. If you play 400 days,
I don't even know where.
If you play 400 days, you can tell that she gets worse when you play Season 2.
To start with Bonnie after the destruction of Carver's camp, because everything wrong with her character just starts toppling over like dominoes. From the moments we see her again, she immediately dumps responsibility onto Clementine by asking her to talk to Kenny in her place.
Clem, I was thinking now that you're here, maybe you could go talk to him.
Then she stands around you.
That's why I respect Clementine so much. She is willing to face danger, willing to face critique, willing to face people who are essentially, like, for example, Kenny, who was mad at her. Because Clementine is responsible, unlike Bonnie here.
While others actually act. At the Civil War Memorial site, she manages to put Clementine in danger and nearly gets her killed. Mike is the one who bursts in to save Clem, while Bonnie just freezes, leaving Clementine to turn around and save Mike instead. It gets worse at the gift shop. When the deck collapses, everyone steps up in some way. Jane risks her life for Sarah. Mike lifts Clementine so she can cut the wire. Kenny helps Rebecca give birth. And Bonnie? She contributes the absolute bare minimum by holding a door shut that Luke already had secured. Finally, during the standoff with Arvo's group, Bonnie completely disappears until the very end, when she suddenly reappears only to criticize Kenny for holding Arvo hostage, a complaint that accomplishes nothing. I honestly can't make this up. For the entirety of episode 4, Bonnie does nothing but stand around and complain. She never takes initiative, never offers a single useful idea, and the only time she shows emotion is when she's upset about something she doesn't like. After the standoff with Arvo's group is resolved thanks to Jane and Kenny, Bonnie fades right back into irrelevance. She reappears only to criticize Kenny and to make her romantic interest in Luke clear. The final downfall of her so-called arc, when the group pauses to celebrate Luke's birthday. Bonnie's fixation comes to the surface, and it directly ties into the disaster at the frozen lake. Through all of this, it's also obvious Jane is on her mind. She even points out that Jane is prettier and admits she understands why Luke would like her. Anyone else getting deja vu here? As Luke falls through the ice, clinging desperately to life, Bonnie lashes out at Clementine, pressuring her to risk everything to save him. But no matter what you do, Luke dies anyway, because Bonnie cannot control herself for even 5 seconds. If you try to help Luke, Bonnie still betrays you with Arvo. If you don't, she hides behind the excuse that everyone forgives you because you're just a little girl.
It must be nice being a pretty little girl. No one ever expects you to do a damn thing.
It's the exact same pattern we saw back in 400 Days. Bonnie is a narrow-sighted...
I didn't see that dialogue. I didn't have that dialogue. What the hell? What the fuck are you talking
hypocrite
about?
who never learns, never grows, and never earns redemption. Her final act of betrayal,
She sucks,
running off
man.
with Mike and Arvo, stealing the group supplies, dooming a newborn AJ, and aiding in the shooting of Clementine in the process, cements that. And that's it. Bonnie vanishes into the wilderness, never to be seen again. The moment her love interest is gone, she's perfectly willing to betray everyone else and leave a newborn to die. I don't say this lightly, but Bonnie is a disgraceful character. The only silver lining to Bonnie's arc is the near certainty that she died somewhere out in the forest. She proved time and time again that she couldn't help others when it mattered, and she was far too clouded and indecisive to ever come up with her own ideas. She was
The reason that she survived so long was because of the sacrifice of others, not because of her own endurance. That's why she sucks, man.
definition of dead weight. That little 3-man group was entirely dependent on Mike, and that
And she doesn't even show any appreciation either.
was never going to last. In the end, Bonnie is unique in all the worst ways. While most characters are written with some form of growth, purpose, or personality, Bonnie was deliberately portrayed as someone incapable of change. Behind the facade of friendliness lies a hypocrite, weighed down by trauma she refuses to confront. Her only consistent contributions are complaints, and no matter how she spins it, she always looks out for herself first. That's why
Yes.
I feel confident siding with the wider community consensus. Bonnie isn't misunderstood. She isn't redeemable. And she isn't just merely bad. She is, without question, a truly terrible character. This
I agree. She fucking sucks, man. Oh my gosh, she sucks. There have been plenty of times where you can see that she is only for herself and nobody else. And as soon as her interests are... What is it? What is the word I'm trying to think of? As soon as her interests aren't aligning, she will turn on you as fast as you can blink. So, yeah, fuck Bonnie. I feel like... Here's the thing. My favorite characters is obviously Lee and Clementine, because both of them have such a character arc in... What is the word I'm having so much brain fart right now. They progress as a character from when you see them in... Well, Lee dies at the end of season 1, but you can see how Lee's character progresses throughout the season. You can see Clementine's character, and I'm making the excuse that she was an 8-year-old little girl, but you can see the naivete that was her character in season 1. You can see the progression in season 2 where she's not as naive. She starts to understand the world a lot more. Going into season 3 and in season 4, like, you can see the progression of her character. That's why I think a lot of people love and respect Clementine, because you can see her as a naive little girl into a family-oriented, caring sort of character who is willing to put her own life at risk to save others. Bonnie is the exact opposite of that, and you can see that from 400 days into season 2. You can see that she was in a decline, not a progression. So yeah, fuck Bonnie. And yeah, if you guys did enjoy this video, please give it a like, subscribe, and yeah, see you guys in the next one. Peace out.